So this is my Herreshoff H28 sailing boat rebuild and refit project, and this little video is for my mum who can't get down here to see what progress I've made and see what work I've completed inside so far. I'll share the video for anyone else who might be interested as well. The hull behind me, you can see, is looking pretty manky, but don't be deceived, the hull's actually in very good condition. I'm leaving the dress up of the hull until the very last part of the project. So I'll strip the paint, I'll actually glass the hull and repaint it completely, but that'll be the very last thing I do. At the moment I'm concentrating on structure inside, fit out cabin tops and rebuilding all of the deck and all the equipment that will go on the deck. So I hope you enjoy the video. So as I mentioned, she's a Herreshoff H28, an iconic design amongst sailors, and particularly popular in the US and Australia and in New Zealand. Designed by L. Francis Herreshoff, and this one built in 1967 in Tasmania by Peter Mayer in strip plank construction of Huon pine. Keel and dead would appear to be Tassie blue gum with external lead ballast. Look, I wasn't looking for a boat to buy when I went for a bit of a look at this one about 15 years ago, just out of curiosity more than anything. Certainly not much to look at. She'd been modified at some stage with a particularly ugly but practical layers cabin top for the previous 6'2" owner. I thought she wasn't really anywhere near worth what she was they were asking for, and I said, look, I wouldn't even consider her unless I could get her back on my block for about less than a third of what they were asking. So I was rather shocked when the agent called me back about an hour later and said she's yours. Look, I'm embarrassed to say that she's been sitting in my shed for about 15 years now, and she's had sporadic attention over the years while I've been mostly working a long way from home and unable to do anything with her until now. I had two main goals in mind when I bought her, and that was to use her as a classroom, to teach myself new carpentry and boat building skills, and to take her as close as possible back to the Herreshoff original design concept. To that extent, she has so far met the brief. Okie doke, this is where we are at the moment. Everything's a bit of a mess. I'm in the middle of running wires so that I can start closing everything up. So all the electrics, which I've actually managed to complicate a lot more than I had originally planned. Have a look downstairs and below. So the plan here on the bridge deck is to have the navigation station, it's a B&G Vulcan 7 unit, facing aft into the cockpit. That'll be closed in. Anchor control, anchor windlass control. On the port side will be the engine controls. And then everything is run down below into the nav station, which I've managed to start tidying up. This has all been put together for me by Odyssey Marine Electrical, Jim Gray. So Jim designed the electrical system for me, built the electrical management panel here, and supplied all of the componentry in a format that I could set it all up myself, or fit it all myself, run all the wiring myself, and it's working out pretty well so far. So the lithium house battery in there, and the start battery will be back under the cockpit. And this is just the bus bar for the negative. That's the NMEA 2000 connection or junction. So it's a bit more complicated than I planned, but I'm here to learn. That was the whole process here, was to teach myself stuff. So here's just a quick look at the boat as it is, in a mess. Everything all over the place, but I'll clean it up. As soon as I've got the wiring in, I'll be able to start closing a few things up. And then I've almost finished the interior fit out, and I can start on the cabin tops and all the external stuff. That's about it for the moment. Actually, I'll just add I have got fans up in here, but I've turned them off because of the noise, just while I'm trying to do this little bit of filming. Today is not too bad. Well, it's still very warm in here. At the moment it's 32.1 and 52% humidity. Yesterday it got up to about 37, and that was with the fans on. So she does get a bit warm in here, but that's, where are we, 35 and 45% humidity. So this is the first time I've actually had 95%, 99% of the panelling in place. So it's the first chance I've got to see what all the different timbers are looking like together. I really had no idea what I was going to come up with. I've used timber that I had available. A lot of it was gifted to me. I've got mahogany, I've got I think it's African and Brazilian mahogany, maybe Philippine mahogany. I've got hew and pine, which I've bought a log of hew and pine. I've got Australian white beech or European beech, I'm not sure which it is, one or the other. And hew and pine of the hull, of course, so there's a bit of a mix and match. And teak, I've got a bit of teak in there as well. It is what it is. I think I'm not going to change it now. And I'm not too sure if I'm that fond of the whole mix, particularly the white beech, but I have already changed a couple of things because I could see it wasn't going to go ahead. I've got an engine cover down in front of me here that I had done in teak veneer, which I had given to me, and that just looked wrong. There was too much timber there, so I've already painted that white, but I'll show you around, see what you think. It's interesting, I think. Hopefully it's not. And the other thing, I've used different finishes. I've used Dexolay on some products, I've used Scandinavian oil on other, and I've used some hard wax oil, Finnish hard wax oil. And again, this was mostly for me to be able to work out or to see how things worked, to see what products were like. This whole exercise has been for me to teach myself some new skills. So I have what I have. See what you think. So, looking forward, this is the V-berth. Those cabinets either side I did quite a while ago, and they are mahogany, two different mahoganies. I think there's a Brazilian and African in there. The African, I think, is the one in the back with a lot of figure. What I wanted to do here was teach myself floating panel cabinetry, so I've started there with floating panels, and up forward, if you can see it up in the dark up there, which becomes the chain locker. That's not completely in place yet. The V-berth just here, and then if I turn around, the mast, I should tell you, that's the mast step. There is a there's a the mast comes up through the deck, just through here, and the aft end of that bunk will be supported by the mast. Oh, the compression post actually. The mast is deck steps, so there'll be a compression post there. So looking forward, port side, got a just a long berth there. It's about 6'2", 6'3", I think, all up, and a bit more in old measure. It goes underneath the that little hutch there, which is a shelf for an angle fridge. So the refrigeration on here will be an angle, 12 volt, 24 volt angle. That sits up on top of that, and the idea of this was just to give a bit more foot room, a little bit of storage tucked in away under there as well. The sides here open up for a little bit more storage, and behind that port settee, the cables all up there will eventually be covered. That's all the cabling for the lighting, the stuff that runs forward for that'll go up the mast. I'll actually put a ceiling in there to cover all that up. On the port side first, I've done this a bit of an experiment. Again, the bases here open up for storage, as does the same on the port side. These seat backs, I've done these as 2 seats. It's a shorter bunk when it becomes a bunk like this. But the idea here is that these actually become reclining seats. That slips up and that pops back, and the top there, which will be a headrest, will have cushioning on it, cushioning on the back, and that'll all be fitted in place. So it's just a, I don't know, nice place to read a book. It was an idea I got off a boat years ago in Sydney that wasn't done like this, but there were a couple of lounge seats that look quite comfortable. Now the idea here, this is missing the table, but that folds up, and that's the support for the table that sits out there. The reason the table itself is missing is it's gone away to the upholsterers, because the back side of the table will be upholstered so that when it's flipped up out of the way, it'll match the seat backs here. But this is just a short berth. It's a kid's berth really. It's not long enough for an adult. But the idea is that 99% of the time it'll be set up as a table with 2 seats either side. It's all a bit grubby at the moment because I've been working in here. Now, moving aft for the nav station area. So the idea here is I'll have a repeater, an iPad repeater for the chart plotter, which is a B&G Vulcan 7. That'll just sit down here, and that'll sit up in the top here area, up above the nav station itself. But the rest of it's just switchboard. So a little desk area under there, storage either side. In behind this panel here is the black and grey holding tank, and believe it or not, under here is the toilet. So not a lot of privacy, but it gives us a toilet for someone needs a toilet, but otherwise that is the nav seat. And then looking further around, that's the engine hatch cover. Now you can see this is where the mixture of timbers is really, I don't know, a little bit too much perhaps. But so that's the engine cover. The top of it lifts up for access just down to the dipstick and oil fill. I've also got an easier access through the cockpit as well, which is a bit of a mess at the moment. And there's a step there behind the bridge deck, and then there's a hatch there that lifts up, it can be removed. Underneath here is just a shelf, and in behind that is some of the wiring. A bit dark under there, but it's awkward access because it's a narrow fitting, but you can get it. That's the NMEA 2000 junction box, what do you call it, or terminals, joiners. And then over this side is the galley. This is the Australian white beech or European beech with hue and pine around the back of it. So those little cutouts there just for plates. I've already got the plates and cups that fit in there. A little bit of storage on the side. This lifts out, little single burner stove. That's all I need, just enough to boil the kettle, heat up a bowl of soup. This is not a cruising boat, it's a day sailor, weekender, trip up to the Whitsundays sort of thing. And that's just a little sink. So I still need to find a tap for it. I haven't found one yet that I like. Unfortunately the tap will disrupt the space there, but it's fine, I'm not too fussed about that. There is also a cover that covers the front here. I don't know if I'll bother even putting that on, I don't mind it like this. A lot of these doors are taped up at the moment because I haven't got worked out what hatches I'm using yet, but there's a bit of storage in under there, and a couple of drawers. Another little bit of storage tucked in around the back there, which is above the angle storage space. And that's about it really. Teak and holly floor. That's the forward, a bit more of an overview of the forward area. I'll just go forward and get a better look at the back and the aft end for you. So it sort of shows the, I don't know, the mix of colour, mix of timbers, and I'm not too sure what to make of that yet, but I'll live with it because I don't want to do it again. There's a fair bit of work involved in that. I'm pretty happy with how the cabinetry's come out itself. Just the colouring is a bit odd, particularly I think under this light. These big heavy duty LED shed lights that I've got in here make it very bright. I think perhaps when the cabin top's on and I'm into normal galley, into normal boat light and sunlight, filtered sunlight, it might be a bit more palatable. So the next job, pretty much, I've got a little bit more cabinetry to do, a few little things to fix. I've got more wiring to complete behind here, but I'll get Jim Gray from Odyssey Marine Electrics to do most of that because that's the more complicated bit. And then I'll pretty much then be able to start on the cabin sides, cabin top, all of the external stuff. So that will be that'll be all hue and pine, so that'll bring this hue and pine in here, it'll bring that up top here, so it'll be more interesting, I think. A bit of luck. So that's it, that's where I'm at the moment. I'll see what sort of a job I can do of getting this video edited so I can take it up to Mum. We're heading up there tomorrow, and I'll post it on YouTube, as I said, and see if it's of any interest to anyone. I've got everything buttoned up for the Christmas break. I'm going to take a couple of weeks off, or at least a week off anyway from doing this. It's getting a bit hot. The plastic, which might seem a bit odd, is to keep out mud wasps. I'm fighting a bit of a war with mud wasps at the moment, and I found this stuff that knocks them over. But they have a habit of building nests in any little hole they can find, and I really don't want them to start getting into the electrics and into the cabinetry. So until I get the cabin top on, I'm going to have to be fairly vigilant with keeping the mud wasps out. But so that's it. Thank you. I hope this has been interesting, and that you like what I'm doing. But I'm enjoying it. Thank you.